This is Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details. Here are your hosts, Joe, Matt, and Kris.
We've already broken down the greatest AFC roster of all time, defense and offense. It's time to move to the NFC, baby, and we're going to do the exact same thing before we compare these two rosters to who we would believe would win if they matched up. And we're going to start back in the trenches where the game is won. And Kris, you are going to give us our defensive line for the NFC.
Yes, indeed. Let's do it. So I love the NFC, to be quite honest, even though obviously I am a AFC player. Going into the details of looking into the NFC defense and offensive side, it is hard not to be excited. It is hard not to look at all of these great players and be like, my goodness, like it is insane the amount of talent that comes out of the NFC. It's absolutely breathtaking. So when I start looking at the defensive line, so let's start with Michael Strahan. Okay. He is probably one of my favorite defensive tackles. I love looking at anything that he happens to be showing on TV. I tend to watch. He's a 7-time Pro Bowler, 4-time first-team All-Pro. You know, obviously he won a Super Bowl. I just love Michael Strahan. He is hard. He was a hard-nosed type of guy. He gets after the ball again. A quick type of guy. Always giving pressure. Always giving the QB something to think about. Run about. Offensive line always had an issue with him. Absolutely loved him. And then you look on the other side of the ball, the person that would be opposite of him, and you have to look at Aaron Donald. He is by far, and he should be in the Hall of Fame. I feel like if there was a way to elevate him to be in the Hall of Fame this year, he absolutely should. He is just that dynamic and that ruthlessness of a player. I love him so much. Not in a weird way. So he has he's a 10-time Pro Bowler, an 8-time All-Pro. Obviously, he won a Super Bowl championship. He's had a ridiculous amount of defensive, player of the year, rookie of the year. He was a hard-nosed player that nobody wanted to have to deal with. I think he was absolutely the definition of keeping an offensive coach up all night trying to figure out how to deal with him. He was just one of those guys. I do think that I wish I would have seen him stay in the league a little bit longer. I hate that he left. I think he was only in for like 10 years. I wish he would have stayed longer. I get the reason as to why. But you can't look at a NFC defensive team and not see Aaron Donald be part of that by any means. And you're talking about Aaron Donald and Michael Strahan on the outside getting after your quarterback. Good luck. And then you move it to the inside, okay? So the inside, you have a John Randle, okay? So, again, he's already a Hall of Famer, 7-time Pro Bowl, 6-time All-Pro. Again, just a really good defensive player, somebody that's going to get after your offensive line, give them something to think about. Your running backs should be a little bit terrified of trying to move into the inside. Great pickup, I feel like. And then on the other side of that, you're looking at Reggie White. So Reggie White is a 13-time Pro Bowler, 8-time All-Pro, won a Super Bowl. Again, Defensive Player of the Year a couple times, Defensive Player Rookie of the Year, has an amazing stat line. Don't really need to go into depth about that. But I think Reggie White was just – I don't feel like I've heard his name a lot, to be honest, which is quite surprising when you actually start looking into it and how big time of a player he was. I don't know if maybe it was because the time period in which he played where he's not maybe looked at because of, all the stars that have come since him. But if you haven't, if you don't know anything about Reggie White, I would encourage you to go and look at his film. Look at what is out there on YouTube, wherever you can find it. You might be quite impressed to the point where you're like, how is he not being talked about as in the same breath as an Aaron Donald, in the same breath as a Michael Strahan, in the same breath as Josh Randle? So you have to look at this guy, and it would be very hard, very, very hard for somebody not to be impressed with what he was able to provide. So if you're looking, if you want a stacked defense on the interior side, you can't get any better than that group setup. And I think that is going to give offensive linemen a lot to think about and a lot to worry about going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, and everything like that. And just so we're clear, John Randle play for who, Kris?
The Vikings.
Who did John Randle play for?
The Vikings. I don't hate the Vikings. I don't know why everybody thinks I have a problem with the Vikings. I said
just so we're clear, Vikings fans. John Randle was not on this list pre-video. It was not on this list pre-video.
I like Warren Sapp personally, but we had a discussion, and I agreed. It has nothing to do with him being on the Vikings. I don't like the Vikings.
I would have put Warren Sapp.
And I did.
Oh my God! So now that everyone is purely foaming at the mouth for Matt, let's go ahead and see who he snubs on the linebacker listing. Matt, who are the linebackers for the NFC?
Joe, there's no snubs here. You can, maybe there's some snubs here. Who am I kidding? But listen, okay. The first choice is obvious, and again, we talked about this on the AFC episode as far as linebackers go. If this was today's day and age, this guy is just an edge. You're not considering him a linebacker. You're probably just throwing him at defensive end, and you're just like, he's an edge rusher. Go get the freaking quarterback and do what he did to Joe Theismann and snap their entire leg in half and ruin careers, which is what this guy did. And it's Lawrence Taylor. He might be the greatest defensive player of all time. He has a great argument. You know, we talked about Reggie White. He's in that conversation. Aaron Donald's in that conversation. Lawrence Taylor might be the leader in that conversation. A 10-time Pro Bowler, 10 straight Pro Bowls to start his career, 10-time All-Pros, 8 first-team All-Pros, a 3-time Defensive Player in the Year. And you'll want to know who the last defensive most valuable player in the NFL was? Lawrence Taylor in 1986, where he had 20 and a half sacks. And he was a 2-time Super Bowl champion. So Lawrence Taylor, absolute no-brainer. He's going to be an outside linebacker for this team without a doubt. Now, here's where it might be a little bit controversial, but I don't think it's that controversial because this guy, while he played, it was a short tenure for him, but while he played, this guy was the greatest linebacker in the game while he played, and it's Luke Kuechly, the Carolina Panthers linebacker. One of the smartest and greatest linebackers and one of the greatest and smartest players ever, really. 7-time Pro Bowler. He played 8 seasons, 7 Pro Bowls, 7 All-Pros, led the league in tackles twice. The 2012 Rookie of the Year and the 2013 Defensive Player of the Year obviously was a huge catalyst on that Panthers 2015 team as well that went 15-1 and went to the Super Bowl as well. So again, Luke Kuechly got his career cut short due to injury. Geez, that was a lot of mumbling and bumbling by me. Cut short due to injury, obviously. But again, could have been in the GOAT conversation, in my opinion, as far as linebackers go, if he would have kept playing. So Luke Kuechly, to me, is going to be my middle linebacker. Here's where a little bit of the controversy might come into play, but it's not that controversial to me. I'm going with Derek Brooks as my off-ball linebacker. I'm going with Derek Brooks, the Tampa Bay Bucs linebacker, 11-time Pro Bowler, 9-time All-Pro, led the league in tackles 3 years, one of the greatest linebacker seasons as well in 2002. He was won the Super Bowl in 2002, the 2002 Defensive Player of the Year as well. He had 5 picks, 3 pick sixes, and a fumble 6 in 2002. So he scored 4 defensive touchdowns in 2002 while winning a Super Bowl for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A great leader. Again, we got plenty of edge rush here as well. Again, we don't need another freaking edge rusher. I want another side-to-side linebacker who's going to go, make tackles, make plays all across the field, and be able to read a quarterback as he does really, really well in the pass game as well. So I think Derek Brooks, Luke Kuechly, and Lawrence Taylor are going to be my linebackers here in the NFC, and I don't care what you guys got to say about it.
I had Kevin Green on my list. He fits the pass rusher mold that you don't want to do. Similar to Terrell Suggs when we had an AFC conversation. I also want to give a special shout out to Brian Urlacher.
Yep.
I threw around Urlacher a lot for my linebacker picks. I really, I'm a big Urlacher fan. I love Brian Urlacher. I mean, he's a staple for Chicago Bears fans early on, especially if you were born in the 90s. You know Brian Urlacher. The guy is a staple in Chicago's fandom. Still a loved linebacker, beloved linebacker there for the Bears.
By the way, just real quick while we're doing honorable mentions, someone who didn't get a lot of love during his NFL career because of guys like Brian Urlacher and Ray Lewis was London Fletcher, the Washington,
yes.
At the time they were the Redskins linebacker, London Fletcher. I mean, he was an absolute monster for 15 years playing linebacker for Washington. So again, London Fletcher is someone who also deserves a shout out because he was a damn good linebacker for a long time.
Absolutely. So we got our defensive line, we got our linebackers. It's time to talk about our corners, and I found 2 corners. These guys are in, bar none. Don't give a shit what anyone's got to say. I got Deion Sanders, and I got Rondé Barber. I like Rondé Barber. My third corner, and I decided this just now. I've decided this. Aeneas Williams, Arizona Cardinals, 55 INTs, 9 touchdowns, 807 yards, 8 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pros. I'm picking him. There was a chance. I almost went with another Arizona Cardinal legend, Patrick Peterson. I thought about reaching up to Seattle. Richard Sherman. Those guys' stats are very similar. Very similar stats. But Aeneas Williams is the better corner. He is the better corner. So I'm going to go with that. Those are my 3 corners. I think Rondé Barber doesn't get enough love. I'm a big Rondé Barber fan. I like Rondé Barber. I don't need to talk about Deion Sanders. We all know who Deion Sanders is. Rondé Barber, 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champ on that team that Matt was just talking about down there in Tampa Bay. Hall of Famer, all 2000s team. The guy is great. 47 INTs, 923 interception yards, and 8 touchdowns. Absolute dominant. Every one of these guys that I just named can absolutely go for 10 interceptions in a season. This is a lethal secondary, but we do have one more piece of this secondary we need to add, and that is the safeties to make this truly an elite unit. So, Matt, who are our safeties rounding out this defense?
I'll get to the safeties, but like you talked about with Rondé Barber, Joe, that Bucs defense in 2002, like you wonder why the Bucs won the Super Bowl in 2002. We just talked about three guys on that defense, potentially on the all NFC, all-time defensive team, and Warren Sapp, who didn't end up making it, and then Derek Brooks and obviously Rondé Barber. So again, you wonder why they won the Super Bowl. There you go. They had all-time great players on that 2002 Bucs defense.
Are we going to hear John Lynch? Is John Lynch going to make this list?
He could.
He could make this list.
There's potential for it, but I wouldn't count on it, Bucs fans. You got plenty of love already. So the safeties in the NFC aren't, in my opinion, I don't like them quite as much as I do the AFC ones. But again, these guys are beasts and might be the greatest safety of all time that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. But the first one, my strong safety, is going to be Brian Dawkins, one of the fiercest, most hard-hitting safeties of all time, and one of the just most fiercest competitors of all time as well. Obviously, an Eagles legend, played a bunch of seasons in the NFL, 9-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro, and the leader of those great Eagles 2000s defenses as well. And if you guys haven't seen this video, it's Takeo Spikes, who's a really good linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles, played for Buffalo as well, talked about Brian Dawkins and his mentality and how he was going to hit people. And Spikes and Dawkins looked at Spikes and goes, "Spikes, I'm going to take his soul." Just looked him dead in the eyes and said, "I'm going to take his soul." And that type of stuff like gives me chills. Like it gets me fired up about football and makes me miss football right now, because Brian Dawkins was that type of guy. He's the type of guy that you love watching play, that he didn't care about his own health. He didn't care about anybody's health. He is knocking your freaking face off because he wants to win the game. And Brian Dawkins, absolute beast of a strong safety here for this NFC team. Now, my free safety, he's an OG. And again, I don't know about you guys, but I tended to like lean a little bit towards my era a little bit more, just because I know a little bit more about my era and was like, that's what I'm familiar with. That's what I'm going to be able to speak more about. So even if the player is a little bit worse, right, but he's from my era, I'll probably go with him. But this guy, he's undeniable. Okay, he's one of the greatest safeties, maybe the greatest safety of all time. The free safety for those great 80s Niners teams, the ones who won 4 Super Bowls. It's Ronnie Lott, the free safety, like I said, from the 49ers. He might be the greatest safety of all time. Fast, dynamic, hard-hitting safety, 4-time Super Bowl champion, the all-time playoff leader in interceptions, 10-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro, led the league in picks twice and pick sixes twice, and he's 8th all-time in picks. So again, huge key to that 49ers defense, where again, those 80s teams, you talk about Joe Montana a lot. Obviously, you talk about Jerry Rice, who we're going to talk about here coming up in the offensive episode here coming up soon. We're going to talk about him. But again, Ronnie Lott was one of the keys to that defense that was really, really good for those 80s 49ers teams as well. And he's very, very deserving of being on this all-time NFC team. So again, strong safety, I'm going Brian Dawkins because he's literally going to take your soul. And free safety, I'm going with Ronnie Lott because he's one of the greatest safeties of all time.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Dawkins, we all love Brian Dawkins on this page, all right? Like the John Lynch thing I said earlier, that was a joke. I knew John Lynch wasn't making this list. As much as I wanted John Lynch on this list, he's not making this list. Ronnie Lott, you can't argue with that pick. Ronnie Lott is one of the greatest safeties of all time. There's a reason he's on this list. But I do want to give a special shout out to a player that we really respect and still probably has one of the most memorable Pro Bowl hits I've ever seen in my life. And that is Sean Taylor of the then Washington Redskins. Obviously career cut short, sadly, due to a home invasion that turned deadly for Sean Taylor there in Miami, his home Miami. Sean Taylor is probably one of the greatest players we never got to see actually succeed. And to this day, he is part of my thoughts every time that I watch football and think about the safety and what the Washington team did for him post that game, and how they went out there and they played 10 guys on defense. the first snap of that game after that. And to this day, one of the most respectful and just, goosebump moments of just seeing that happen and the emotions you can only imagine in that locker room. Sean Taylor is an honorable mention. I believe that if he had played a full career, we would be talking about Sean Taylor more so in this, Brian Dawkins kind of conversation where we probably could have made a case for both of those guys being on this all-time list. But that is our NFC defense. Tune into our next episode to find out who the offensive players are, and then we are going to break down which conference all-time roster would win if they matched up in a game.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.